Welcome back on into the barbershop. It's your boy G Bush back at it again. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. If you're an individual that likes real talk, if you're an individual that wants to get the real deal, unbiased conversation about multiple topics, hit that subscribe button and make sure that you turn on that notification so you understand and know when the barbershop is posting new content. Let's go ahead and get right off into this thing, man. Breaking news. Drew Brees, 20 seasons in the NFL, calls it quits for the New Orleans Saints. And Drew Brees, of course, is one of the, like I like to say, walking Hall of Famers in this league. There's a lot of them that have been walking around here, that have retired lately. Phillip Rivers, Peyton Manning just got in. Tom Brady's a walking Hall of Famer. He's still playing. And then Drew Brees, of course, was still playing up to this year. And with Drew Brees, when he's coming out of college in Purdue, never had the reputation for a huge arm, never had the reputation for being the best athlete. But Drew Brees is a guy I believe got the best out of his talent. And that's no knock saying that he's not talented, because to me, he's one of the top 3 or 4 most accurate quarterbacks of all time. Knowing where to find his pockets, knowing where to find the windows to release the ball, being undersized. He was the first undersized quarterback to give other quarterbacks some opportunity to even make it in the league because he was successful. Because he was an undersized quarterback and was able to make things happen for himself. When you look at Drew Brees, one of the things that really sticks out in my mind is just how prolific of a passer he was. 5,000 yards, 5 times in his career. No other person has done it more than once. That type of production, year in, year out, is something to behold. Quarterbacks, throwing for 4,000 yards is ridiculous. Back in the day, somebody throw for 4,000 yards, it's crazy. Crazy, ridiculous. But just remember and think about it. He has Michael Thomas now. But before that, what receivers was he throwing to like that? Lance Moores of the world, throwing the backside of the backfield. They had Reggie Bush for a little bit, Jimmy Graham for a little bit. They've never had anything what you would call top flight, bona fide first ballot Hall of Fame receivers. And Drew Brees consistently went out there every year and torched people. 5,000 yards, 30, 40 touchdowns every single year. Accuracy. The Saints were always a contender. They were always a contender when you had Drew Brees on your roster. And when you look at it, besides the Cleveland Browns, the New Orleans Saints was also a team that was a laughingstock, a team that couldn't get out their own way, a team that, fans wearing paper bags and the city just the fans being tortured because the Saints were not a team that competed, a team that had any sort of pedigree, a team that had any sort of cachet, and they didn't even have the record or the personnel to even compete on that level until they got Drew Brees. And he single-handedly changed the organization. I can't help but think that I'm getting kind of old, man, because you see these quarterbacks on their last legs. Big Ben Roethlisberger probably has 1 year left. Drew Brees is gone. Phillip Rivers is gone. Eli Manning is gone. It just reminds me of how old I'm getting, man. I can remember these guys playing in college. I can remember these guys, watching these guys year after year after year. And if there's anything that I can say is, in the NFL, you find out really hard what it feels like to not have a quarterback. And so when you look at what's happening behind him, Trevor Siemian's on the roster. Taysom Hill is on the roster. By the way, they just gave Taysom Hill 4 years, $140 million extension. Yes, I did say 4 years, $140 million extension. However, trust me, I've always said this, and you guys should understand, no contract is guaranteed past 3 years. Most people who aren't superstars don't have a contract guaranteed past 2 years. Taysom Hill restructured that deal in order to give them cap space and cap relief. $7 million they got by restructuring that deal. Chances are he'll never reach that 4-year deal. That's just reality of the situation. Most of his money will be up front in terms of if he gets a new signing bonus. That's the only money he's guaranteed. But he's going to have a battle in his hands in terms of fighting it out with Jameis Winston. You know, to me, Sean Payton has said from Jump Street that Taysom Hill is a guy who he thinks can play. Taysom Hill played last year in some games, played really well, 3-1 as a starter. He believes in Taysom Hill. He believes that he brings a unique skill set to the table. He brings something extra to the table. And he's stamped him as a person who thinks he can, you know, win in his league. However, let's be clear. Taysom Hill is not better than Jameis Winston at all. And I know people, all that good stuff, you know, you can be in the comment section talking about Jameis Winston and throwing interceptions, and he had to have LASIK surgery, all the low-hanging fruit, give me a couple crab jokes. I get it. I kind of get it. But when it comes down to football and just throwing all this funny stuff and all the funny business and get that out of it, Jameis Winston is better at Taysom Hill at everything except for athleticism and running the ball. Any other trait that you're talking about throwing the ball, he has. Talking about stepping up in the pocket, accuracy, arm strength, pushing the ball downfield, being able to make every throw, being able to throw from different platforms, diagnosing defenses and what they're trying to do to you. Jameis Winston is better than Taysom Hill. There's a reason Jameis Winston was the number one quarterback and the number one pick overall. There's a reason he won the Heisman Trophy, and I get it. That's in college, and it's what have you done for me lately. But if you believe Taysom Hill has a better skill set than Jameis Winston, I don't think we can have no conversations because I just don't. I question with you talking about in terms of your football. But we're gonna see what they do at quarterback. Because it's easy to say you're a perennial power every single year when you got walking Hall of Famers on your team. Ask Bill Belichick how that went. By the way, that debate is over. That whole who was winning first, who was more important, Belichick or Brady, that debate is over. In my next blog, we'll just break that down because I really want to get to that Cam Newton situation in terms of him coming back to New England. But that whole conversation with Bill Belichick and who was more pivotal, that's out of here. Go ahead with that. That's done. That's finished. That ship has sailed. Bye. But when you look at any team, it's great and it's real easy to say, hey, we're great. We're going to be good because you get used to having a guy that's going to be taking snaps. You get used to a person that is going to be there year in and year out, no matter how many weapons you have, no matter what your personnel is looking like. You can always hang your hat on the fact that you got a quarterback. That's not the case now. You're going to have to figure out what you're going to do in New Orleans. And, you know, it's between Taysom Hill, it's going to be Jameis Winston. You know, another thing that the collateral damage is thinking about it like this. Michael Thomas, he was already, you know, a little bit of a headache and a problem last year. Can you imagine you get off to a 1-3 start, 2-5 start, and all of a sudden he's disgruntled? All of a sudden Alvin Kamara is saying, listen, I should be the focal point of this offense if we don't got Drew Brees there? That's something you got to think about. Because when you got a quarterback who's obviously the leader of the team, obviously the heart and soul of the team, obviously the person that is making the thing go offensively, everybody else can fall in line. There's nothing really to talk about. We know who to listen to. But when that voice is gone, and now there's multiple quarterbacks fighting for that superiority, fighting for the buy-in of the team, fighting to see who's going to be able to be the successor, that's more difficult. Because now it comes down to you not listening to, you're not looking at the whole picture as a player. When you got Drew Brees in the huddle, if Drew Brees throw four picks, you know what Drew Brees is. You know as quickly as he threw them 4 picks, he can come back and throw 4 straight touchdown passes. So it doesn't matter what he just did last time, because you still have the faith and you have muscle memory. You understand and you've seen him under pressure. He has a track record of success, and you know you could come right back. And so when he's in the huddle, you still listening to him because he has that cachet. But when you got 2 dudes competing, trying to figure out who's going to be the leader, a short leash, a quick hook, players ain't trying to hear none of that. They is not trying to hear that nonsense talking about just give us some time. If Taysom Hill throw 2 interceptions, guess what? They're looking at Jameis Winston. If Jameis Winston come in and throw an interception and get strip sacked the next play, they said, well, let me go ahead and bring Taysom Hill back in, and we might look at Trevor Siemian. That's the type of things that could cause issues and friction, because everybody is auditioning, and the entire world and team knows that you're auditioning to take over for one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever put cleats on. It's just tough. It's just tough to do. There's no way around it. And for all of the teams who have really dominated and really been relevant for the last 15 to 20 years, that's just the way the game goes. I'm not gonna be salty. I'm not gonna be crying no tears for you, Argentina. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. You know how long we've waited for a quarterback? You know how long we've waited for anybody to be even good? Welcome to the party. Welcome. When you got quarterbacks and you getting one after another, and you the Green Bay Packers, and you get Favre and come on, man. Favre and Aaron Rodgers, when you the San Francisco 49ers and you drop and you get Montana, then you get Steve Young. Come on, man. Come on now. You gonna get them back to back like that? That's how you moving? Cheaters. When you the Indianapolis Colts and you gonna have Manning and Luck back to back? I ain't got no sympathy for you. You think I care? No. Good luck. Goodwill hunting. Because at the end of the day, now you see what the rest of us is trying to do. Now you see what the rest of us has been, scraping the bottom of the pot, trying to find scraps and put them together to make a meal. That's a hard life, man. And we welcome the New Orleans Saints to that hard life. We welcomed the New York Giants a couple years. We're welcoming the Indianapolis Colts, and they've even still tried to do it. They got Carson Wentz now. They're trying to get him to see if he can replace and find a replacement for Andrew Luck up in New England. They're like, oh, Tom Brady. We're trying to find a replacement for him. Even the Pittsburgh Steelers went out and got Dwayne Haskins because they understand what the writing on the walls is with Ben Roethlisberger. So, Drew Brees, in conclusion, obviously had one of the best careers, and where he stands for me, it's a little bit difficult to kind of put it in perspective, right? Because he's always judged against the people in his era. I wouldn't put him above Peyton Manning, but for me, in this specific era, I try to compare quarterbacks by era. I don't try to compare all of them at once, because the game has got so different, where Joe Montana, obviously, for a lot of people, was probably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But back then, you wasn't throwing the ball like that. Back then, you was turning over. You was You was mixing it up. You was doing a lot of short pass West Coast game. Nowadays, people is spreading you out, throwing the ball all over the park, and it's just a different game. You know, Matt Stafford going to have a gajillion yards, but is he? You really going to line up and tell me he better than Joe Montana? No. Matt Stafford got 100 million yards, but you going to line up and you going to tell me that when you stack his stuff up against some of the best, even the best winners, or even the best with as far as skills, like Marino, or some of the best guys with a resume, like Big Ben. Stafford got a bunch of yards, but is he necessarily better than Big Ben? Is Stafford necessarily better than guys like Terry Bradshaw or Fran Tarkenton or any of those guys like that? Otto Graham. You see how it goes. It's hard to compare the eras. It's kind of hard. So what I like to do is I like to keep it in the same era. So for me, in this era, you definitely got Tom Brady. I always put Peyton Manning a little bit below Brady, but that's getting wider if you keep on winning these little championships. And then you start to have that second tier where you have Big Ben, you have your Drew Breeses, you have your Phillip Rivers in that same era. You have Tony Romo, I would put in that same era. Guys like Mike Vick, Donovan McNabb, Andrew Luck goes in that era. Guys like that, Steve McNair, those guys to me fit in that era. So for me, I got Brees above Roethlisberger, even though Roethlisberger has a better, more rings. He has more rings and championships than Brees. But I think that Drew Brees did more with less. I think he did more with less than Big Ben. If you look at what Big Ben had, Big Ben has had dominant defenses, Hall of Famers on defense, great receivers, strong running game. So Ben had a better supporting cast. Ben has had those type things. I just think Drew Brees has done more to elevate the play of his team rather than kind of just being that cog that just, Big Ben came in and ran off all those games in a row. But he wasn't the focal point. He was turning around, handing the ball off, playing good defense, just, cliche stuff. So I got him at third. Peyton Manning at second, Tom Brady at 1, of course. I would put Big Ben probably at 4. And in this era, I would say it's a tough one between Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning. I got to give the nod, even though Eli is throwing a bunch of interceptions. I got to give Eli the nod because he has those 2 championships and he beat one of the greatest teams to ever do it in that undefeated team of the New England Patriots with Randy Moss. With a Moss that put up 20 touchdowns. So I would go ahead and put Eli Manning in that category, slightly above Phillip Rivers. So as always, please hit like, please hit subscribe, please make sure you check out the channel. I appreciate you guys, and we will come back. We will get it done. We will get it together. We will do that same thing coming back, and I do want to come up with my other blog. It'll be coming out soon. It'll be on the Cam Newton situation in New England. I'm really eager to get to that because I think it shows you a lot overall in the game that sometimes people overestimate what coaches can really bring to the game. I'll explain later in that blog. But as always, it's your boy G. Bush in the Barbershop. Peace.